Gardening can take a lot of time and energy sometimes, and unfortunately, it is not all time and energy well spent. So I'm gonna take a decade worth of gardening experience and distill it down for you into ways that you can save your time, your body, and your energy in the garden, starting with these. Garden kneelers might be the nerdiest thing I've ever worn in my life, although I guess my 7th grade photo probably proves me wrong there. But they have saved my knees. I didn't use them for a very long time, and my knees are proof of that. In fact, one time I went to a mani-pedi salon thing with my girlfriend, and instead of working on my feet first, he asked if he could hit my knees. And it was kind of embarrassing, but ever since then, I've worn the garden kneelers in the garden. Why? Because if you're in a garden situation like myself, I have all this wood chip here. It's hard material. It's really actually quite rough on your knees if you want to get down and mess with these weeds. You could just use some cardboard here or some burlap, anything that's nice and soft. I actually am a big fan of this kneeler product here. You can double up if you want, if you have really bad knees, and then just move it on down when you try to weed. And speaking of weeding, I've actually made another mistake because I don't have my tools. I waste more time getting tools than anything ever in the garden. I always forget to get that one little thing that you need. So what I've started to do is I have a bucket, just a standard 5-gallon bucket. I come and raid my tool shed. So I grab, usually a trowel, usually some kind of saw if I'm doing any pruning. I'll get a hori-hori. It is better to grab more tools rather than less. Obviously, we're gonna need some kind of pruner as well. I just load up because I wanna make one trip out into the garden and not have to keep walking back and forth, especially if you're someone who is running low on energy, or maybe you have an autoimmune disorder or something like that. You don't have a lot of energy to expend in the garden, so you might as well make it count, and I'll show you why I like the bucket in a second. So I've got everything I need now. I've got my kneelers on. I can come down and just make really quick work of these weeds. Hori-hori, whatever tool that you want. Sometimes, if there's no seeds in it, I'll just leave it on the ground, but that's why I have the bucket. If I want to, I can double store the tools and the weeds, or I can take all the tools out and do a quick flip. All of a sudden, I can work like this. And this I find is really nice if you have what I have here, which is Bermuda grass, and I have to come sit here for a while, maybe put a podcast on and just crank out all of this weeding. I might not even want to be on my knees, even with a kneeler. So the bucket and tool combo saves me a lot of time and effort. So once you're done with your weeding session, you want to come spend some time in the vegetable garden. You get into garden design. Here's some principles that I've learned that have saved me a ton of time and strain on my body. First of all, the tall bed. I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, these are the Birdies beds that we sell, but no matter where you get your bed, you can build taller ones if you want. It's not mandatory, but for me, I'm really tall, and it's nice to be able to work just like this. I don't actually have to bend over all the way. So that's a huge benefit, but also when you're designing a bed, you really want to think dimensionality. So this bed is about 4 feet wide. Why is that important? Well, I got a pretty long arm, and I can't even reach all the way to the other side. So on average, you're gonna be able to reach about 2 feet into a bed. So I can get 2 feet into the center, and if I walk around this side and I wanna work in this bed, I can get 2 feet around on the other side and I can work right here. So design is really important no matter where you get your raised beds, or honestly, even if you're building beds in the ground. You won't have this height advantage, but still don't make a bed too wide or too inaccessible. Otherwise, you're probably not gonna wanna work in it, and when you do, you're gonna spend a lot more energy. Speaking of making your life in the garden easier physically, today's sponsor is Nature's Willow with their Willow Balm Pain Relieving Cream. I've actually given this to almost everyone who's a gardener on the Epic Gardening team, and they all love it. I personally have a lot of issues with my wrist on my right hand and my elbow from a rock climbing injury that gets exacerbated when I'm in the garden or when I'm on the computer. And so what I've been doing is I just take a tiny bit of this, pop it here, and I just rub it in, and it reminds me of when I was a kid putting on like Vicks or something like that. But of course, this is all natural, made with products from the white willow tree. Everyone on our team absolutely loves it. In fact, Lauren, who is our editor on the blog, says it's one of the few things that helps her relieve her shoulder pain that she gets when she's gardening. So Nature's Willow, fantastic product. We all love it here at Epic. Hopefully you will too in the garden, and you can check that out in a link in the description. Let's get back to the video. Plant placement, another huge piece of garden design. I'm pretty far from my house right now. I'm in the back corner of my lot, and that's where I have my bananas, my grapes, my avocados, and even some of my ornamentals like these dahlias right here. Why? Because I don't need to access these that much. They're on irrigation. I don't have to do some active care for them, but there's some stuff that I do, and I put that closer to the house. So here I have my little wine barrel or whiskey barrel herb planters. This is really close to my house. It's about 10, 15 feet from the back door. Why? Because the herbs are used all of the time. We come out and we clip these and put them in our cooking pretty often, and they also need more active management. If I want to grow this huge basil bush, which we'll be doing pretty soon on the channel, I'm gonna have to come out every day or two and actually prune these off. So think about it. Why would I set up a garden in which the stuff that I need to access every single day is in the back corner of the garden? It makes no sense, and you just burn a lot of time and energy going back and forth over and over and over again when I can just have this right here. Let's talk lightening your mental load in the garden. I have a pretty big garden, and sometimes it's hard to keep track of a lot of stuff. So I've come up with a lot of techniques to just make things easier to remember and work in. So if we take a look at this bed right here, it's hard to tell there even is a bed because it's covered in vines, but this is actually two plants that want the same thing. One is a birdhouse gourd. You can see that right here. This one's getting pretty mature actually. Really excited to grow this. But hidden in here, we also have the loofah gourd, which I've grown. It's the shower sponge that you can grow yourself and use the fiber, take a nice little shower with it. Those plants basically want the exact same growing conditions, so why not put them in the same place? Try to design your garden, whether you're in a raised bed or in the ground, with plants that want the same growing conditions. A good example would be a tomato, pepper, and eggplant bed. They're all solanaceous crops grown in the summer that like the heat. Now you might say, well, the peppers want a little bit less water than tomatoes. That is to some degree true, but it's certainly better than putting tomatoes next to cabbage. They don't want the same things whatsoever. They don't even want to grow in the same season. So put like kind plants together and your brain will thank you. One of my favorite ways to keep my stress low when I'm managing the garden is to just plant a lot more than I actually need. And the worst case scenario is that I just give them away to friends and family. So take a look here in the greenhouse. We have a bunch of squash. I have a ton of sunflowers and zinnias. I didn't know exactly how many I wanted. I knew I wanted maybe 20, 25 sunflowers in the garden. I planted 50. What's the harm? I'm already getting the seed starting tray out. I'm already putting the seedling mix in. I'm already getting all the seed packs out. I'm just gonna plant about 50 to 100% more than I think I need, because you're gonna lose some during the germination process. You're gonna lose some to disease. When you put something in, a pest might rip it out. You might accidentally step on one. You're gonna lose like 20% of your seedlings no matter what you do. So just don't stress about getting the exact right perfect amount. Seeds are relatively inexpensive. In fact, if you ask me, seeds are downright dirt cheap. So you might as well plant extra and don't stress. For me, saving mental energy is just knowing where I put stuff. It sounds really boring, but I have a weird fascination with these like hanging shelves for long-handled tools and for short-handled tools. So I can just hang this up, and as long as I know my compost fork is always there, I'll just put it back there at the end of the day. Take like 10 minutes, just do like a little quick cleanup, not only on the outside with these big tools, but on the inside. No matter what scale your garden, you can do something like this. Here in the shed, yeah, it's almost like a little garden store. There's so many different things in here, but no matter where you're keeping your garden supplies, organization is key. A couple different ways that we do it. We use this product called Wall Control. It's like a fancy pegboard. It's not super expensive, but it's just kind of nice and durable. So all of our cutting implements and twine and such go there. Really simple shelves down here house some of the bagged stuff, fertilizers and soil mixes. And then over here, pegboard. I mean, it's classic for a reason. It's somewhat flimsy, but it's also pretty inexpensive, and you can just use these hooks and put whatever you want on here. For us, we put all of our hand tools on this wall, and at the end of the day, we know if this isn't here, it's somewhere buried in the garden. So we go and find it, and we put it back here, and things are good. So you have some tips now on how to make gardening a little bit easier for you, but there's still a lot of mistakes you could make. So check out this video for beginner garden mistakes to avoid. Good luck in the garden, and keep on growing.